The Galactic Defense Academy had seen many species pass through its halls over the centuries. The towering Krillians with their chitinous exoskeletons, the ethereal Vorthak who communicated through bioluminescent patterns, and the aquatic depths dwellers who required specialized environmental suits. But when Sarah Chen stepped off the transport shuttle that autumn morning, she represented something unprecedented. The first human to be accepted into the Academy's elite program. The other cadets watched with a mixture of curiosity and barely concealed disdain as she made her way across the crystalline courtyard. At barely 5.5 feet tall, she seemed insignificant among beings that averaged 8 to 12 feet in height. Her organic frame appeared fragile compared to the natural armor plating and defensive spines that adorned most of her fellow students. "Look at the little mammal," hissed Vextar, a Krillian noble whose family had produced generals for 12 generations. His mandibles clicked in amusement as he addressed his circle of admirers. "Does it even have natural weapons? No claws, no venom, no protective carapace. How did such a pathetic creature even qualify?" Sarah heard every word as she passed, her enhanced hearing, a quirk of human evolution that few aliens understood, picking up conversations from across the vast space. She kept walking, her expression neutral, her stride steady. She had expected this reception. The Academy's reputation preceded itself. Only the most elite warriors from across the galaxy earned admission. The dropout rate hovered around 80%, and those who failed often bore permanent scars from the brutal training regimens. Physical prowess, mental fortitude, and killer instinct were prerequisites for survival, let alone graduation. During the opening ceremony, Commandant Thrax, a massive reptilian whose species had conquered 17 star systems before joining the Galactic Council, addressed the new class. His yellow eyes swept over the assembled cadets before lingering on Sarah. "You are here because your species believes you represent their finest," his voice rumbled through the Great Hall. "Most of you are wrong. By year's end, only 20% will remain. The weak will be culled. The strong will be forged into weapons." The first month proved his words prophetic. Combat training began immediately, pitting cadets against each other in various scenarios. Sarah found herself consistently underestimated, facing opponents who assumed her small stature and apparent lack of natural weaponry made her an easy victory. Zephyros, a crystalline being whose people had perfected energy manipulation over millennia, volunteered to spar with the human during the first combat assessment. His species' natural ability to channel and redirect energy made them formidable opponents capable of creating devastating plasma bursts and electromagnetic pulses. "I'll try not to shatter you completely, little one," he said, his translucent form shimmering with contained power. The match began with Zephyros unleashing a concentrated energy bolt that should have ended the fight instantly, but Sarah wasn't where the bolt struck. She had moved with a speed that caught everyone off guard, her smaller size allowing for rapid directional changes that her opponent's more rigid form couldn't match. What happened next became Academy legend. Sarah closed the distance between them in seconds, her movements fluid and unpredictable. Where other species relied on overwhelming power or natural advantages, she employed something far more dangerous: adaptability. She studied Zephyros's patterns in real time, identifying the microsecond delay between his energy buildups and releases. When Zephyros attempted another blast, Sarah was already inside his guard. Her elbow struck a specific point on his crystalline torso, a stress fracture she had noticed during his previous attacks. The impact sent hairline cracks spreading across his form and he collapsed, writhing in what his species experienced as excruciating pain. The arena fell silent. A human had defeated a Zephyrian in less than 30 seconds. But it was the tactical analysis course that truly showcased humanity's unique strengths. While other species approached problems through the lens of their evolutionary advantages, Sarah demonstrated something that unsettled even the instructors. She could think like every other species. During a complex siege simulation, she correctly predicted the behavioral patterns of 12 different alien mindsets, crafting a battle plan that exploited not just physical weaknesses, but psychological and cultural blind spots. Where a Krillian would charge directly at fortified positions, and a Vorthak would attempt elaborate flanking maneuvers, Sarah synthesized approaches from across the spectrum, creating hybrid tactics that no single species would naturally develop. "Humans are persistence predators," she explained to a stunned classroom after dismantling what was supposed to be an impossible scenario. "We evolved to outlast our prey, to adapt to any environment, to use tools and cooperation to overcome physically superior opponents. You all see predator versus predator. I see the entire ecosystem. Her words sent ripples through the academy's halls. Instructors began studying human evolutionary history, trying to understand what they had welcomed into their midst. They discovered a species that had survived ice ages, volcanic catastrophes, and countless extinction events not through individual superiority, but through collective adaptation and an almost supernatural ability to learn and modify behavior. By mid-semester, the attempts to break the human had shifted from mere hazing to genuine concern. Sarah didn't just survive the Academy's trials, she excelled at them while fundamentally changing how they were approached. Her study groups became the most sought after on campus, not because she had all the answers, but because she asked questions that forced other species to examine their own limitations. The real test came during the War Games, a month-long exercise that pitted teams against each other in complex scenarios across hostile terrain. Sarah found herself selected as team leader, despite being the newest and smallest cadet. Her squad included representatives from 6 different species, each with their own combat doctrines and natural advantages. On the surface, her team seemed disadvantaged. They lacked the raw firepower of the Krillian-dominated squads or the technological superiority of the Zephyrian alliances. But Sarah understood something her opponents didn't. She had studied every species in the Academy, not just their strengths, but their weaknesses and predictable behaviors. The games lasted 3 weeks instead of 4. Sarah's team achieved total victory by employing tactics that no single species would have developed independently. They used Vorthak stealth capabilities combined with human-designed ambush strategies. They exploited Krillian honor codes while employing Depths Dweller patience. They created new forms of cooperation that transcended species barriers. When Commandant Thrax announced the results, his yellow eyes held something that might have been respect. "Cadet Chen," he rumbled, "your species concerns me. You adapt too quickly, learn too thoroughly, and refuse to be limited by natural design. You are either the most dangerous student this academy has ever graduated, or our salvation." Sarah stood at attention, but allowed herself a small smile. "With respect, sir, I believe the answer is both." As graduation approached, the academy had been fundamentally changed. The human hadn't just survived, she had evolved the institution itself. New courses were added to address multi-species tactical thinking. Traditional combat doctrines were revised to account for adaptive strategies. The Academy's motto was quietly amended to include a phrase in the human language: improvise, adapt, overcome. When Sarah finally received her commission as a Galactic Defense Officer, she stood alone on the stage, but the scars she left behind weren't physical. They were conceptual, marking every species that had encountered humanity's unique approach to survival and warfare. She had entered the Academy alone, but she would leave knowing that no predator in the galaxy would ever again underestimate what it meant to be human. In a universe full of specialized killers, she had proven that the most dangerous predator was the one that could become anything it needed to be. The galaxy would never be the same.